Good morning. Welcome back to Daybreak. It's now 23 minutes to 7 o'clock, and it's time we want to focus on matters affecting the nation. My name is Sam Gituku, and I want to introduce the panelists that we have in studio. Dr. Chris Omala is the Member of Parliament for Community Constituency, but also the Party Secretary General of Ford Kenya. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Edwin Sifuna is the Secretary General of ODM Party. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Didmas Baraza, Member of Parliament for Kimilili. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
It's such a long time. Where have you been?
I've been around building the nation from community.
We haven't heard from you.
No, we've been having so many activities on how we are going to form the next government.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very interesting, and we'll be touching about such later on the show. I want to start by looking at what's in the dailies this morning. Race for Raila running mate. Odinga set to announce his presidential bid at Azimio La Umoja convention. Of course, I believe this is the event that is expected on the 10th of December 2021. It's in about 10 days or so. Strategists scouting for a deputy to the ODM leader in the race for State House have narrowed down to Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui, Na Kenya Chief Martha Karua, and former presidential candidate Peter Kenneth is also former Member of Parliament for Gatanga constituency. Then you see the story there of Kinoti loses bid to avoid prison. High Court Judge Anthony Murima dismisses Mr. Kinoti's application to review or set aside ruling. And then the story that is just touched on Mwendwa faces 4 charges at the Anti-Corruption Court. So the decision will be made today whether he's going to take plea or not, as the defense team is challenging the manner in which he was arrested and taken to court by the prosecution side. A kidnapper's paralysis is the story that is making headlines on the Standard, talking about how people have been disappearing, even pulled off the streets in broad daylight, some never to be seen again. They're asking the question, who is involved and what will it take to end this new worrying trend? Then the story of Conrad Kinoti again must serve jail court rules. Judge says no new evidence has been adduced to make him change his mind on decision to jail DCI boss. And I want us to begin there. Edwin Sifuna, you are a lawyer and an advocate of the High Court as such. And you've seen this matter of DCI George Kinoti. Of course, after the Magistrates Court made that decision that he be jailed for 4 months within 7 days. That did not happen. He tried to appeal against that order. He has not been lucky, and now the High Court is saying that he must first subject himself to community maximum prison. I mean, what opportunities or chances does he have at a time that now the avenue through the High Court appears to have hit a dead end?
Thank you so much, Sam. We were just joking before we went on air that if we got another host, we could actually conduct this interview in our local dialect, Kibukusu. It's good to have these brothers of mine on the show. It is looking very bleak for Kinoti. We as advocates have always been encouraging our clients to, first of all, respect the orders of a court. Sometimes it is very difficult. You might have a different opinion from that of a judge, but it is a responsibility that is placed on all of us. That in fact, once a court pronounces itself, you must, you know, whatever difficulty you will be in, you must be able to, you know, obey the court order. So he's in a very difficult place. I am sure his lawyers will try a higher court. But as it is right now, it is looking quite bleak for him because there was a very specific order on the return of firearms to the businessman who was involved, and that order was not complied with. There are various arguments that have been advanced that he, in fact, as DCI, is not the person in charge of firearms issuance in the country. They've tried to throw the ball back to the Firearms Board, but I think the Firearms Board only is involved in issuance of licenses. The people who confiscated the licenses were, you know, the blame has been placed at him, at his door. So I wish them all the best at the Court of Appeal. I'm sure they're going to try. But as it is right now, there's very little it can do in terms of maneuvering within the law. And
Dr. Chris Omala, of course, this is not just any other man. He is in charge of investigations in the country. He finds himself on the receiving end. I mean, do you think he has any chance. Of course, Wakili says here he doesn't have any other option but to subject himself unless they are lucky at the Court of Appeal. But what would this mean for his job?
Yeah, thank you very much. First, I want to say that as per this constitution, everybody has a right of appeal until you've exhausted all your appeal mechanisms. So immediately after the magistrate's court coming to the High Court, there's still room. Who knows? For court of appeal is there. We have the Supreme Court. This matter can go as long as time allows up to the Court of Appeal. So to me, I think the most important thing is let's wait and see. He still has room to go to the higher court. So let's wait for the decision of the Superior Court. But coming to issues of respect of court orders, as stipulated under Article 10 of the Constitution on national values and principles of governance, everybody is obligated to respect court orders. This is a country, it's not the first time. We've seen court orders have been violated before. The Miguna case, we saw it. So it's not new. It's not new in Kenya. And when the state or the people in power don't respect the court orders, obviously you'll find other people attempting to do the same. When you look at the issue of KFF guy,
FKF.
Yeah, Mwendwa, you know, at times it's good if you respect the court order pending that appeal, maybe they can listen to that. But I see the situation whereby the judiciary is determined on this matter that court orders must be respected, the independence of the judiciary, and we've seen it before. Even Justice Koome said she'll not allow anyone to compromise the independence of the court orders. Kinoti is my very good friend. He's a fellow Catholic like me. We've been together in many functions of the church. And how I wish that there can be an amicable way of maybe subject himself there, pending, then maybe the courts will see that, hey, this is how it is. You know, nobody is above the law. And to me, I'll request that if the matter can be resolved amicably, because really, when it comes to firearm licensing, we have a licensing board. It's the one that's in charge of regulations and all that, and issuing licenses and all that. But as Honorable Sifuna has clearly put it, when it comes to confiscating and enforcement, is actually done by the police. So let's wait for the Court of Appeal.
Do you see himself handing himself over to commit to maximum prison?
It's tricky because I think it was an office, not as an individual.
Really?
Let's wait and see. We don't have to go so much into the details, but we wish him well. But he still has room to go to the Court of Appeal and all that. So let's wait and see.
All right. Yep. How about Didmas Baraza? What are your thoughts this morning on these developments? What essentially should happen?
The law must be applied uniformly as to whether those who are breaking the law are the lords who live in the castles or paupers who live beneath the bridge. And I think what Kinoti should do is to surrender himself to committee. His process of appeal can continue when he's in committee. I say so because this is not the first person to be jailed. You remember sometimes in 2021, Judge Nzioka Makau also found SRC commissioners and top management in contempt of court, and they were fined 5 million or jail term, which I think they paid. And as per the Constitution, such persons must vacate office. I think this, the jailing of Kinoti is a wake-up call, because this country was slowly degenerating into a lawlessness state, where people don't obey orders of the court with impunity. We remember even the CS for Interior was also jailed with his PS Kialagwa for disobeying court orders, you know, for Miguna case. You remember?
They were jailed?
Yes, they were found, they were supposed to serve a jail term, which they didn't.
How long?
During Sifuna will tell you, Sifuna was appearing for Miguna at that time.
No, you're the one claiming that.
No, they were actually sentenced. It's just that they never went to court.
They never went to serve their sentence.
Yeah, and the sentence is still there.
It's still there.
Excuse me, jail sentence for how long?
I don't recall, but I know that there is a sentence.
There's a sentence. Yeah. They should go and serve their sentence. So this sentencing is actually a wake-up call. For the first time, I've seen the Minister of Foreign Affairs rushing to comply with another court order that was ordering the foreign embassy in Berlin to give Miguna travel documents back to this country. And this is actually what we want. And we should say it without a fear of contradiction, that there is nobody who is above the law. Anybody out there who is also planning to disobey court orders should learn from what is happening to Kinoti, that actually Kinoti is supposed to be eating githeri in committee, not enjoying the luxury of his office that is currently enjoying.
Wow. And SG Sifuna, so if that was to happen, how does he continue to execute his duties as DCI?
I think it would be difficult for anyone to execute any duties of any office, including you as Sam, from a jail. It would be extremely difficult for him to continue serving as the DCI. It is not possible, just even physically, for you to be able to do that from a jail term. And the complication of the law is such that with such a conviction hanging over you, I mean, the question of your suitability then to hold that office also comes into play. So I really wish, I wish the lawyers had done a better job. You know, they have been able to secure some, you know, communication from the Firearms Licensing Board that in fact the board is the one that has custody of those weapons, and that therefore a proper order should have been directed at them. But I just wish that the matter had been dealt with better, that in fact immediately the court order was issued, the firearms should have been returned to the businessman. Okay. What Didmas is saying is that we must encourage this culture, that in fact we are a state that is governed by the rule of law, and obedience of court orders is a cornerstone of the rule of law, and that it doesn't matter how inconvenient the order is, the responsibility, and it binds all of us under the Constitution, is to obey it first. And then if you have issues with it, there is always channels of appeal, like my brother has alluded to.
Okay. And just to add on what Sifuna said, is that the order directing them to release their firearms back to Wanjigi was issued very many years ago. So if they had an issue with that order, they could have appealed it at that time. But they ignored with impunity. They sat at the back of the offices for very many years until Wanjigi went back to sue them for contempt of court. So with them rushing now to appeal the jail sentence is a hypocrisy. That's a fallacy. They had an opportunity to appeal against the order, and I think I want to agree with the court. These people, they deserve no audience. They should just go and serve their jail term. It's only 6 months.
All right. Just checking on the story you just mentioned about CS Matia.